I wanted to ask you, so in the context, I mean, I've been really been affected with the events in Russia and Ukraine.
Yes.
And feeling like there's a lot of division and this rightness and wrong, and feeling like it's a split, at least for me. I'm going to speak just from my experience, because otherwise it's like that somehow split, like right, wrong, good, bad, like inside. And I've been trying to come back to the teaching as a way to, you know, basically, because when things get tough, that's when I look for, like, in my spiritual, basis, like coming back to the kind of, I don't know, some kind of insight, like going inside and finding answers to how I feel, or trying to support myself. And I've been really going back to that conversation that we had about like no absolute truth, and using that as a way of like, okay, like there's no absolute truth, there's all kinds of truth and relative, but I really don't know what's true, what's happening, what's true. And it's been helpful for me, but not so helpful in my communication with other people and friends, because they don't resonate or they think I'm avoiding the issue, or because I'm not like taking sides, or I'm like, well, and then I'm thinking, well, am I avoiding the issue of kind of confronting what's wrong or evil? But I don't even think in those terms. So in the context of that's all that's happening, also, that's kind of, it seems like in the teaching there is no right or wrong. It doesn't say.
So the teaching has no right or wrong yardstick itself. But the teaching points to the fact that each of us does have a right and wrong yardstick. It's
Right.
part of who we are as entity. So Irina has values. Irina believes some things are right or wrong.
Right.
And the teaching does not negate that, and it doesn't attempt to neutralize that and make you a neutral piece of tofu with no feeling of right or wrong, or this is good or this is bad, that everything's the same, it's all consciousness, blah, blah, blah. It points to the fact that you have those qualities. And it also points to the fact that others have different qualities and feel different. And the fact that you feel that what you feel is right is perfectly legitimate. But what is crucial, and this is and it's subtle in a way, but it's incredibly important, is that the recognition that which you feel is right is not true in the absolute sense.
Yes, even if it feels like truth to me, right?
It is true for you.
It is true for me.
It's
Yes.
your truth. And we're not negating that, but it isn't the absolute truth. And that creates space.
And it creates space for that conversation, if we were to have one.
Yes.
Where I can say my truth and the other person with absolutely different or the opposite truth can speak their truth, and we can hear each other.
Potentially, yes.
And not get into this like
Who knows? But the fact that you can recognize that your truth, as powerful as it is for you, is not absolute, is the definition of humility.
yes, right. And if I want others to recognize that also.
You're fucked, Serena.
Yes, that's where it gets screwed up. When I want others to also recognize that their truth is not the absolute truth. Well, I'm having this thing where my mind doesn't think, but it's like a sense of peace and everything's okay, kind of. So I'll sit with that. Thank you, Wayne.
Wayne, is that the function of the false sense of authorship to suppose that one's truth is the absolute truth,
Yes.
or even trying to convince others that my truth is the truth?
Well, the convincing is another matter, but it is the sense that what I believe is true is absolutely true because it is a claim of being the absolute. It is a claim that I'm as the center of the universe. I'm the powerful one. I'm making it happen. Therefore, that which I believe is inherently must be the truth of the universe. That's the claim.
Versus like that's just an aspect of the absolute, the understanding.
We can say that,
Yeah.
that there is a broader context to everything, of which all the relative polaric opposites are enclosed. That is the absolute. But it is not, it doesn't have a feature.
Because those conversations with people they're quite unpleasant. Yeah, like really unpleasant.
Often arguments or disagreements can be very unpleasant.
Now, sometimes when I like talk to others, I feel like I'm trying to convince them of my view.
Right.
Is that like validation, or what's the purpose of doing that? Yeah. Because I think in one of the Advaita, the way of powerlessness, you spoke of like you stopped seeking validation or arguments from others. You kind of had your own personal relationship with this higher power. Yeah, that sounds really nice. Yeah, because I still get caught up in those arguments and convincing, and yeah, it feels like it's an old feature of mine. I used to be way more hardcore about like promoting what is the truth.
Well, I'm certainly not above, you know, arguing forcefully in my beliefs,
Mm.
and I mean, things that I believe are correct. But those are, there is a difference between a belief and a truth, an absolute truth. So I'm not, it's a big difference when you are coming from the place of your beliefs than when you're coming from the place that what you say are not, what you're saying is true. It is absolutely true. So I believe this. When you say you believe this, it's simply that. I believe that this is true. That doesn't make it true. I believe things are true that I, the next day, realized was wrong. But in that moment, I believed it was true. And in this moment, I believe something else is true. But the possibility that it could change or I could be wrong is implicit in that. Even when I forcefully say that I believe it's true, that possibility is what we're talking about. And it's subtle.
But in like that promotion of that belief can be very strong. Like
Absolutely. Depending on your personality. Some people are quite forceful and argumentative and like the game of the debate and the making their point and getting across. And others don't really care that much for it. Doesn't interest them. But that's a matter of personality.
with the caveat that this belief can change and it might change.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful because there's space there.
That's correct.
And then that's when the conversation can actually happen. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.